Hi friends, hope you all are having an awesome day today. It has been a crazy week. We've had the Nintendo Direct, we've had a Sony PlayStation State of Play, which was the same day as the Nintendo Direct, and we've had TGS happening. It's honestly been absolutely insane in terms of gaming news and gaming announcements. That being said, in this video I want to focus specifically on the Sony PlayStation State of Play, as well as the PSVR2 news that came out earlier today via a podcast. Guys, if you like videos like this, like the video. I mean, likes are free after all, and it helps out a ton, as well as subscribing to the channel if you like things like this. Now let's go ahead and jump straight into it. The Sony PlayStation State of Play, it's hit or miss. It hasn't had necessarily the best record when it comes to having a solid presentation. That being said, there's always usually at least one heavy hitter announcement that kind of goes ahead and just blows everyone out of the park. This time around, that was God of War. I mean, that was honestly the best way to end the presentation, with the huge banger hit that is God of War Ragnarok. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Kratos, as well as Atreus and everyone else that is casted in this story. Now, leading into that and kind of going into that, we started off with a banger as well, Tekken 8, which honestly took me by surprise. I don't think anybody really expected Tekken 8 to come into the ring, so to speak, when it came to State of Play. I've always been a fan of Tekken. I've been playing Tekken since Tekken 2 originally came out on the PlayStation 1, and I've kind of kept up with it here and there and played a little bit of this and that. I was playing Tekken 7 and I dropped that for Guilty Gear Strive, and obviously it's a 3D fighter versus a 2D fighter, but I digress. When it comes to Tekken 8, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of characters and a lot of potential, especially using the Unreal Engine 5. I mean, guys, look at the trailer. It is absolutely beautiful. There's just a lot of hype that is around this, so I'm definitely excited to see what is going to happen with Tekken 8. Immediately following that, PlayStation just went ahead and said, hey, we've got a couple of VR games, check them out. And they went ahead and showcased Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. It's an enhanced edition, which is set to come out next year, as well as Demio. And at first I thought that this was kind of like a D&D like or something like that, but I am not super familiar with it. It just seemed like an RPG dungeon crawler, so to speak. Regardless, I do not have a PlayStation VR1 or any sort of VR headset, so PlayStation VR2 might actually be my first VR headset that I will ever purchase. Following the announcements of those two PlayStation VR titles, we finally got to see Like a Dragon Ishin, which this is a game that has never been released in the West. It's originally a PlayStation 3 game, and honestly, if you're a fan of Yakuza games overall, this game is gonna fit right into the grand scheme of things. Technically, this has nothing to do with any of the characters that are within Yakuza 0 through 6 or even 7, Like a Dragon. But that being said, you still get to see a couple of cameos, you get to see a lot of new characters, and the mechanics within the game are actually much more similar and akin towards Yakuza 0 through 6. After that, we saw Hogwarts Legacy and an exclusive quest that is tied to the PlayStation 5, the Haunted Hogsmeade Shop, which honestly, I'm excited for Hogwarts Legacy. I think that this is going to be huge for Harry Potter fans. I am personally a Harry Potter fan myself. I love everything that I've seen so far. This definitely gave me a little bit more of a spookier vibe. This wasn't exactly what I was expecting from a trailer talking about Hogwarts Legacy, but regardless, I'm excited for it. Give me a little bit of horror. I'm okay with that. The next trailer that was shown was Pacific Drive, which seemed a little odd. I didn't really understand what it was that they were trying to portray or what kind of game it was specifically. Based off of things that I've read online, it's a first-person driving survival game that's set in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. I don't know. I want to learn more about it. I was definitely intrigued. It gave me kind of like these indie vibes that I would expect from other smaller publishers or other smaller developers. This is Ironwood's debut game, so this is their first ever fully developed title. I'm excited to see what is in store with this game. Afterwards, PlayStation spent a little bit of time talking about the PlayStation Stars reward program. It seems like it's cool. I mean, you can sign up for it and it's kind of just, I don't know, just something extra to have. I didn't really need to learn more about that within the State of Play, but it's something that I would expect from PlayStation to go ahead and showcase, just something small that says, hey, this is something extra that we're doing for you. I just want to learn more. These are digital collectibles after all, so we'll see how that plays out. The next game that was showcased was Duality, which I personally don't know too much about it, but it seems like a sci-fi third-person shooter. It has very anime vibes, but it makes sense because this is technically from Bandai Namco, and this is coming out next year. Personally, I like mech games. I would love to experience something like this, and the action definitely seemed really good. So I'm curious to see what else is going to be shown on this game. Now, for those of you that do not follow the gaming resume, Onyx and we reacted to Project Eve way back when it was first announced, and it looked really good. Now we finally have an official title. It's technically called Stellar Blade, and PlayStation is saying that this is a console exclusive. My assumption is that it is also coming to PC based off of what I've seen on the internet. So it's an action game that kind of looks a little bit like Bayonetta, and I'm okay with that. Bayonetta is a phenomenal action game. Everything that I've played so far in terms of Bayonetta 1, it seems like a good time. I want to go ahead and see it in full swing. I mean, Stellar Blade looks like it is going to be everything that we want in terms of an action game. Rise of the Ronin was the next thing that was announced, and after a little bit of research, it seems like Koei Tecmo was actually working on this with Team Ninja for 7 years, and this is something that honestly you can tell that there is a lot of clout behind it. Team Ninja knows how to make action games. They know how to do mechanics and systems that just work well in an action setting. I would love to learn more and see more, but overall, based off of just this trailer alone, it just seems like it's going to be fun. It just seems like it's going to be good times. I can't wait for it. Now, finally, the big kahuna, the big thing that was announced at this game, the God of War Ragnarok trailer. Honestly, I was already sold on the game. I had already pre-ordered it. We all know what to expect of God of War Ragnarok. I know that there are some reservations. I was looking at Twitter. There were some reservations in terms of the combat, in terms of the pacing of the story, in terms of, well, pretty much how easy the puzzles were. And some people were saying that they wish that Santa Monica Studios kind of made an option to skip the puzzles, kind of how Naughty Dog did that with the Uncharted series. Now, personally, I didn't really find it too cumbersome or anything like that, but if I recall correctly, God of War 2018 was actually a really good game, and it was fun. I enjoyed myself. I had a great time, and it was a memorable story through and through. The only issue that I had with it was a little tiny bit of a weird section that happened with Atreus, and if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to talk about it specifically because I don't want to spoil anyone, but that being said, God of War Ragnarok, it's coming out. I cannot wait for it. This trailer just got me hyped, like ridiculously hyped, especially with that ending. So overall, this was short, it was sweet, and there were a lot of Japanese-centric games, and I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. This is kind of seen, at least in my eyes, Sony's way of being and participating with TGS. So overall, it was a good time. Now let's talk about the PlayStation VR2 news that was dropped earlier today. So on the PlayStation official blog, there was a podcast episode 439, which spoke specifically about virtual impressions. They interviewed the Senior Vice President of Platform Experience, Hideaki Nishino, on PlayStation VR2, and there was something that was talked about that kind of threw gamers a little bit on edge, especially on Twitter and everything that I've read online. Basically, the TLDR of all of this is that PlayStation VR 1 titles will not be playable on a PlayStation VR 2 headset. I don't really understand why they're doing that, because I don't think that there's, at least from what I can tell, any sort of technical limitation that would prevent them from having those games on PlayStation VR work on PlayStation VR 2, similar to how PlayStation 4 games work on PlayStation 5. Yes, I know that there are extra peripherals that are technically available for developers when it comes to designing games for one versus the other, but when it comes to the technical limitations that are there in PlayStation VR 1 in comparison to PlayStation VR 2, it just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. On Steam, there are various options that are available in order to go ahead and use a headset. It doesn't necessarily have to be Steam's headset. It could technically be HTC's headset, or it could be Meta or Facebook's or whatever the heck it's called now headset. It could be the Oculus. It doesn't matter as long as you can go ahead and use it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are exclusive games that only work with specific headsets or only available on specific platforms, but that's a different story. What we're talking about is Sony coming out with one headset and saying that you cannot play the games from one headset on the second headset. And that's where things get a little bit weird. That's where I'm a little bit confused, because would like backwards compatibility so that if I do have a growing library of VR games, to be able to play them. Why have two different headsets? It doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. So I read that. It seems a little odd. I do think that there might be an opportunity for developers to go ahead and kind of upgrade the games that are available, or maybe like release a patch that would make PlayStation VR 1 games be available on PlayStation VR 2, but alas, we shall see. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited for everything that was announced at the State of Play? And are you even interested in getting a PlayStation VR 2? I would love to hear your thoughts and kind of everything that's been going on with smug Sony, because that's exactly what this was. This is a smug Sony move. They're after your wallet, guys. That's literally it. So anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.